7 o'clock, call to order the regular meeting here at the City Council of the City of Grants Pass, 600 West Cleveland Boulevard, July 18, 2016, at 7 p.m. All rise for the invocation, please. Lord, we'd like to give you thanks for this beautiful day. We ask for your blessings upon this community, upon all the children that are getting ready for the end of the year, starting the school year. We ask you to please bless all our law enforcement, our fire department, all of our public works. We ask you to bless everybody here, make sure everybody's feeling good, no ill feelings, feeling sick or anything. We ask you to take care of the sick and watch over us. Thank you, Lord. Amen.
Thank you. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's going to bring us to item number 3, presentations, proclamations. Rosemary, I believe you're up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rosemary, and I'm from the Chamber of Commerce. I know it's a little late, but I wanted to give y'all a wrap-up from Shrimpery this year to kind of let y'all know how it went. This year, obviously, the rain had a big, deal on what happened with us out there. It was a big factor. We had everything you could possibly believe to go wrong before the event went wrong. 2 steps forward, 3 steps backwards, up until the day of the event. We lost an entire parking lot because of the rain. The grass was really high. We weren't able to get in there and cut it. We weren't able to get in there and salvage it. So that parking lot probably turns over 150 cars every hour to hour and a half. It's a big deal for us. There are those people still that don't want to shuttle in. So we know that was a big cause for why we didn't have the attendance that we had in the past. Every year since I've been here 10 years, Shrimpery's grown higher and higher in numbers, and this year we sort of went back a little bit. I think last year we had 57,000 people in attendance. This year we had 46,000. All of that was on Friday night with half the attendance on Friday night. The other thing was the mosquitoes. There were a lot of mosquitoes in town. There weren't mosquitoes out there with us because we're by the water and it's windy. But when you go out from your car and mosquitoes get on you, you don't know that if you're by the water there's no mosquitoes. So I'm sure that was a big deal too. And then we dropped a little bit on Saturday night when it started raining right when the headliner came on. So it rained good, maybe 10 minutes, hard enough to get people scattered and running for the border. So we did lose a little bit of attendance there. And when you lose attendance, you lose revenue. And so with that being said, last year I think we cleared about 104,000. This year I just finished doing all of the advertisements for it. So we're going to be at about between 60 and 63,000 in profit this year. That looks like a lot of money, but that's what we use to run the Chamber of Commerce over the membership. And so I'm really going to have to budget what I do with our Chamber of Commerce this year toward the end of the year. I think our bottom line last year was 50,000. And if we made 60 this year, we're probably going to be at, just above breaking even this year. I don't like to say that. I don't like to break even. I don't like to work as hard as I do and know at the end of the year we're going to break even. But, it is what it is, and I'll do what I can from now until then to bring back the revenue. And then I sent y'all a report. I'm sorry I'm out of breath because I ran to the car to get the USB stick. Trying to hurry up. But let me just kind of go over some numbers with y'all. Some of the areas that, for those that don't know, the areas that the Chamber of Commerce gets revenue from are not all the areas. The food vendors, they take in their own money. So the shrimp oil is revenue for the Chamber of Commerce. Last year we made almost 8,000. This year we made 4. On the sodas, last year we brought in 18,000. This year we made 15,000. That was a good number. And last year we get a portion of the sales on beer because we split that with AP for Youth, our summer program. So last year we got about 34,000. This year we got 29,000 profit for the chamber. Overall beer profit for the chamber and AP for Youth is 84,000. A lot of beer, a lot of beer drinkers. And then the souvenirs, we literally barely broke even this year with $252 in profit. But we're still selling shirts now, so it's fine, they'll go. And then the carnival was 20,000 this year. Last year it was 23,000. We get a percentage of the carnival, which is about 15%. So that's the revenue they gave us from that. And then on our Google Analytics, I did a May 1st through June 18 just to kind of see the traffic for Shrimpery. We had 57,000 hits on our Google, on our website, just on Shrimpery. And then the second page that I did on that, I just wanted to kind of see where we were with Shrimpery versus just, you know, the visitor center in general. Between January and May, we did 94,000 hits on our visitor center website, with Houston being the #1. And I think I told y'all that last year, that Houston jumped over San Antonio and Austin. So between January 1st and June the 18th, it was Houston, Corpus Christi, and then San Antonio. So those were the top 3 that were looking at us during that time. And most of them were women, go figure, on their smart devices. As far as sponsorships, we received $86,000 in sponsorships, $25,000 that we'll get from the city for the police department. And let me just say that the police department that we have, the emergency services, the fire department, everyone from the city, including the staff, the council, I saw all of y'all there. I cannot tell y'all how important y'all are to the chamber and to this event. There's no way we could put this event on without y'all. Everybody in this town believes that the city organizes that event, and I take that as a compliment, because that's how close we work together on this event for people to think that the city's putting that event on. I'm sorry that y'all are probably getting the complaints, because with the good comes the bad, but you know, I'm happy to help with anything I can, and we're here for y'all. You know, with whatever y'all need to do, we're going to be the same way with y'all. Y'all are there for us, we're going to be there for you, no matter what. Nonprofits raising money, the Rotary Club, the athletic boosters. Unfortunately, the band boosters, they didn't make money off of that. Or was it, which one has the parking lot? I can't remember. The boosters. They didn't make money off their parking lot this year, so I don't know how they're going to handle that. Moose Lodge, Masonic Lodge, Knights of Columbus from Aransas and Ingleside, St. Mary's Catholic Church, Christmas for Kids, Tri-County Christian Service Center, VFW, SPCA, the Coastal Bend Classic Car Show, NJROTC, Little League, SAD, and the Aransas Pass Explorers. All of them were nonprofits out there raising money for their organizations. So it's definitely, you know, good for everyone. And then I did a little bit of research from the, you know, the community. I kind of asked some of the stores how things go. I went to the Stripes, and the Stripes kind of right off where the parade is, and actually they're going to be busy. They said they're extremely busy this year. They did not realize how busy they were going to be. They had to bring in extra staff. They couldn't keep up on Friday evening and all day Saturday. They just couldn't keep up. HEB has a little bit different approach. They spend a lot of money on Shrimpery. They invest a lot out there with their trucks and their trailers and sponsorships. They tell me that they pretty much, of course, the store does very, very well, and their revenue goes way up starting on Thursday all the way through Saturday. But they sort of break even after sponsorship because they invest so much in their community, and they know that, and that's what they expect. But you know, they're really not making any extra money, but it's what they do for their community. So that's really, I thought that was really good. And of course, the hotels, they range from $150 to $199 on Shrimpery weekend. That's rack rate all the way up to $199, and they sell out in Aransas and Ingleside. And I didn't check Rockport at that time. Let's see what else. HEB made $58,000 on food vendors alone. That's just our food vendors and the shrimp boil that we do. So that's, and they still say they broke even. So that was just them, and then not to mention we had 150 craft boots out there. All of them shop in the stores. They got to go get their stuff. They got to get ice. They got to get fuel. All those things are factors as well. And I think that's it, unless y'all have some questions. By the way, none of the money that we receive for the visitor center goes into Shrimpery. We don't use any hot funds for Shrimpery at all. So.
No questions? Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it.
Thank you for everything you do.
So is there somebody for an award or something?
Is Mr. Rice in the room?
Okay.
We do have an officer we'd like to introduce, but we'll do that during police.
Okay. This is where we use item number 4, board and commission appointments. Be planning and zoning. This one said we only had one, correct?
Yes. Mr. Dan Moore is no longer on the board. Ms. Cynthia Vasquez has submitted an application expressing her interest to serve on the board, and her application
Is this just to fill out his term? Or
How does it work?
is to fill out his term, or is hopefully get rid of it.
a motion for approval for Ms. Vasquez?
Well, I make a motion that we approve the applicant Cynthia Vasquez for planning and zoning.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This is gonna bring us to item 5, the consent agenda. All of the following items of the consent agenda considered to be routine by the city council will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of this item unless the council member so requests. If a discussion is desired and the item will be removed from the consent agenda, will be considered separately. We have items 5.1 and 5.2.
Actually, I
And
think
5.3, right?
3, 4, and 5.
4, 5. All right. What will be the favor of the council on these items?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
I
Second.
second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Mr. Lawrence?
Thank you, Mayor. Item 6 is public hearings on 3 replats, and these are done somewhat differently than usual on the agenda. So let's start with item A, which is Lot 425, lots 15R and 16R being .386 acres. Mr. Saldana?
Mayor, Council, the first plat before you is a request by the property owners, Dwayne and Sandra Townsend. They're requesting to replat their property, and they're reorienting their property to the side street of West Magnolia. This plat meets all the requirements of the subdivision, state law, and the Plan Zoning Commission recommend approval.
Were there any objections to this at P and Z?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who is opposed to this particular replat? All right, then item B is Wilkie Estates Block 1, lots 1R and 5, being 4.662 acres.
This next plat is the Wilkie Estates. The property owner is Donald Wilkie is requesting to replat 4.5 acres into 2 lots. He will leave one 4.2 acre that extends from Beasley to Rose. The other one, which will be about a 0.3 acre, will be at the corner of Saunders and Beasley. Lots 2, 3, and 4 previously came before the council about a couple of months ago. This is just another replat for that area. It is in compliance with the subdivision regulations, state law, Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who is opposed to this particular replat? Yes, sir.
Well, I would like to ask a few questions about it. I don't know.
Would
if
you
that's-
state your name, please, for the record?
My name is Jerry Wellman. I live at 1869 South Saunders, which is directly across the street from Lot 1, I think. Do the lot lines match the lot lines across the street? I mean, what we don't need is offset lots and offset houses. It makes it look odd in the subdivision, and the zoning requirements are 1,600 square foot houses in that area, and that means to me, single family houses, 1,600 feet square foot heated, not garages and no garage apartments, no trailer houses, manufactured homes. The only thing I have the real concern about is what's gonna happen in the future with these and what the plan is.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else who is opposed?
have a question, not concerning those lots, but the
But
long
ma'am,
plat.
what, would you mind
Oh,
stating your name,
forgive me.
please?
My name is Rosita Gonzalez, and we live on the corner of Saunders and Rhodes.
Okay.
Right on the corner. And my concern is dealing with Mr. Wilkie and the long stretch of land behind those lots. I called him at 5:50 this afternoon, and he told me that land is no longer mine, that stretch, because I said, we're willing to buy the plat behind us, and he said, that is no longer my land. We sold it to a man from Austin, the real estate people from Austin sold it, and I said, and what are they planning to do there? He said, these were his words, it's a subdivision to put down some apartments. And my second question was, does the city know about it? And the city council, he said, oh, yes, they do. So is he telling the truth? So I am approaching you and asking you, is he telling me the truth? Or they
I don't know.
they
I
building
I have not
apartments?
heard that, and we don't allow us apartments right there.
In
Not
order,
zoning.
in order for apartments to be built there, he would have to go through a change of zoning. The planning
It's not him
commission.
anymore. He said he was a man from
E-
Austin.
Either,
Well, it doesn't
either
matter.
way,
Anybody,
the,
yeah.
the property owner, anybody who tries to build apartments other than single family that's allowed there, has to go through the planning commission. The planning commission means you guys will get notice, everybody within 200 feet will get notice. You'll have an opportunity for a say at planning commission, and then, depending on the recommendation, then city council will vote on it. As of today, we do not have an application for apartments or construction or anything on Lot 1R.
Well, he seemed so assured that he knew what he was talking about. Thank you. You're telling me.
Anyone else who's opposed to this particular replat? Is there anyone present who is in favor? Yes, sir? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Donnie Perrick. I live at 1857 South Saunders Street. And the official notice we got of a proposed replat includes Block 1 that faces onto Saunders Street. However, within the last week, there's been a new sign put up that offers that that lot for sale for $27,500. And that confuses me. How can he ask for a replat on it when he's trying to sell it as it is?
That's a good question.
Well, I don't think it's right.
That's a buyer beware question. That's an issue between the real estate, the owner, and the potential buyer on what gets carved out and what gets bought. When we look at a subdivision and we look at a replat, the only thing we're doing is the very first thing it has to meet is the zoning size of the lot.
Right.
If it meets the zoning size of the lot, then we move on to the rest of the subdivision regulations. And if it meets that, really by state law, we can't deny the subdivision. I think at question is what he plans to do with Lot 1R, which is anybody's guess at this point. He's not presented any information to the staff or to us as to what happens to Lot 1R.
Okay. The other question I have is on the size of the lots on that strip that runs between Beasley and Rhodes. That doesn't look wide enough to create a lot that's the same size as the others. Those lots facing on Saunders are 145 by 106, and I don't believe that strip behind is wide enough to accommodate that.
You're talking about what's left on Lot 5 or what's left on?
Yeah, what's left on Lot 5?
It's 16,344 square feet. So
So what is he proposing to break it into?
he's not. Lot 5 is just, I've zoomed it up onto the screen. Lot 5 is one lot. Lot 5, what used to be a flag-shaped lot of what was left for him is now carved into two separate lots. He's carved out Lot 5, which is similar in characteristic to these lots facing Saunders. What's left at Lot 1R is 4.28 acres.
It used to look like a
Can
big
you
L.
point it out so they can?
And
Yes.
so basically,
If you
he
don't mind
just
just
took it and
pointing out so we know
that's
what you're,
completely separate now.
what he's
Fine.
looking
3
at.
months ago, when he went through this,
Mhm.
there were 4 lots on Saunders and 1 that ran between Beasley and Rhodes. When did those get combined together?
The fourth lot, that was the fourth lot. These were the two that he, there was 3 right here that he platted, and this was the fourth lot. That includes 5 and 1. There was lots 1, 2, 3, and 4. Lot 1 was all of that. Now he's coming in to cut, I don't know why he one lot out of this larger lot. So he's creating this lot and that long lot. And that long lot, we don't know what he's doing. Here, pretty much single family residence that we have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I will tell the council that because this is such an important issue to the neighborhood, we will make it a point to notice should we receive any application for rezoning. Because the only thing that can go there is a single-family home, which is allowed by right. But if they come in to propose anything else, we'll make sure the residents get proper notice. As long as nobody reports us for putting door hangers on.
Is that just those people who are within 200 feet?
Yes, ma'am, it'll just be people within 200 feet.
Well, ma'am, if you don't mind, can you come up again so we can hear you on the mic, please?
By allowing this replat, you've cut off half the people who have an interest in not seeing that area rezoned.
By replatting this?
Because if he's going to, if we're replotting this one corner,
Mhm.
okay, that puts everybody across the street who would have had an interest in that more than 200 feet from what he's going to ask to replot later.
You're correct. It puts them at almost 300 feet or right at 300 feet. Yes, you're correct, to the center of the street.
And the problem with that is that people within 200 feet are very much affected by it, but so are people within 2,000 feet. I'm opposed.
Thank you. Yes, sir, Jerry?
Jerry Wellman, 1869 South Saunders, she's exactly right. We won't get notified when they're gonna replot. And if that happens, I guess it happens, but we will watch very carefully, and we'll probably be watching in May.
Thank
What
you.
I will tell the council is it's not, well, the replat gets noticed, but the zoning gets noticed not only to the affected property owners, but it also gets noticed in the paper. It's noticed on the website. You know, we will make it a point to reach out to, you know, state law requires a minimum of 200 feet. I don't believe there's a maximum that we can't notice, so.
So we can make sure that
Sure,
everybody across the
absolutely. If
street-
it is the
absolutely.
council's interest and there is a public outcry, absolutely. We could notice within 5,000 feet.
Sure.
But 200 foot is a minimum state requirement.
Okay.
And the official paper is?
The official paper is the Herald.
Anyone else in regard to the Wilkie Estates? The next item, C, is block 262, lots 14R, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Right.
Block 425, 15R and 16R.
No, you were right the first time.
Was it? Okay.
262.
I'm sorry, okay. Yeah,
14R,
262,
15R.
lots 14R, 15R, and 16R.
Yes. On this, the property owners, Lisbeth and Martha Gorgie, are replatting their properties to make them a little wider because they own half of Spencer Street that was closed several years ago, so that gives them an additional 60 feet they can work with, so they're replatting their property to make them a little wider than what they typically were. It meets all the requirements of state law and the zoning, and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval. Thank you.
I think the right-of-way was 60 feet, wasn't it? And they're just acquiring their 30, half.
No, I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Right.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here who is opposed to this particular replat being, again, block 262, lots 14R, 15R, and 16R being .654 acres? If not, does the council have any questions or comments?
No,
on any of these items? Okay.
Yes, whoever makes the motion.
If not, then I declare the public hearing closed.
So what's the favor of the council, item 6A, B, and C? With the
How many
5,000.
feet do we want to do it?
Let's do
5,000?
minimum of 5,000.
Okay. Oh, I make a motion, we approve items A, B, and C with a 5,000-foot radius of people in,
Notice.
for notice,
Wilkie, just
for the Wilkie
Just for the
Estates.
Wilkie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
within 5,000 feet of the Wilkie Estates.
Second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Did they hear that? I wonder if everybody heard that.
Oh, if you would please, on the Wilkie Estates plat, please sign on the sheet, on the sign-in sheet, especially if you live outside that 5,000-foot radius and want a notice for Wilkie Estates.
This is gonna move us to item number 7, City Manager Sylvia, 7-1.
She's excited.
Thank you all. My name is Mark McCliney, and I'm with Samco Capital Markets. About 6 weeks ago, you authorized us to proceed with a notice of intention to issue $3 million worth of certificates of obligation. At that date, and that resolution stated that on today, July 18th, we would receive bids and bring the results to you. If council likes what they see, you'd have the ability to authorize the ordinance issuing those certificates of obligation. From that time, we prepared an offering document, worked with the city manager and the rating agencies, and had our bond rating confirmed, AA minus, which is where we were. It's the highest we've ever been. Very, very pleased with those results. That allows you all to sell bonds at the rates that we're going to show you right now. Bids were due at 12 o'clock today, and we did this via the internet. We had 5 bids, 2 from out of state, 3 from within the state. William Blair and Company, with an average interest rate over the 20-year loan of 2.39%. That's the lowest we've ever sold. That's approximately 70 basis points than the last time we sold certificates of obligation, which was 2014. We sold them at 3.05 or something like that. So 2 items reflect that. Interest rates have continued to come down. Things that were happening over in Europe, things that are happening here in the United States is driving interest rates lower. And in fact, 2 weeks ago, we hit lows that we have never seen. Beginning of the year, the 10-year Treasury bond was at about a 2.05, came down to 135 2 weeks ago. That's great for borrowing, terrible for investing on the other side. It means the entire country is not growing and doing as well as Texas. We don't feel the pain that the rest of the country does, but we're the beneficiaries of getting these low rates. You'll see that the second place bid was Hilltop Securities at 242. We like to see those tight cover, that second place bid, and the worst was a 255.
Wow.
The second page, the second handout, and behind that first page is just the individual bids, because each bidder can put a different interest rate on each maturity. That average is what comes out to the 239. Now, this is the report that takes into account the bonds. Now, you authorized us to issue up to $3 million. The purchasers are paying a premium on these bonds. So if you look right down on that first page, we're going to only issue $2,890,000. Right in the middle, it adds up to that. They're going to pay a premium, so you get $3 million into your construction fund. but you're only going to borrow $2,890,000. Again, a real benefit. The total payback is $3,872,000. Now, the second page behind this is what we showed you in June, and we thought the payback then was $4,500,000. So $700,000 lower repayment over the life of these bonds. Now I'm going to take you to the far right-hand column. That's the tax rate. 2015, we're approximately 34 cents. The year we're finishing, we're at 31.24. The year you're entering, that you're working on the budget, it's going to be 31.17. Close, I mean, we would say that's the same. But notice right after that, it drops to 25. So next year, these bonds will go onto your tax rolls for next year, and it's going to remain relatively the same as it was this year, your INS portion of the tax rate. The following year, it declines. That's going to allow you to borrow approximately $4 million plus or minus next year without dedicating any new funds towards it. So you're in position, what we like to see, and if you look at the total, the second column from the right, total debt service, we like to structure it with stair steps, and people in the council for some time have heard me talk about that, because that allows you as a council and your staff to look at certain years out in the future and say, okay, we have a drop in debt service. If we have capital improvement projects, we can push those capital improvement projects to that year without impacting your taxpayers. So the structure remains very favorable for that, with a drop in 2018. It drops again in 2021, and then continues to drop. So it's declining debt service over the years. We're very pleased with these results, particularly the fact that we've never borrowed at this low. It is a fixed rate, meaning it cannot change unless you refinance it. They can't change you. It's not a variable rate that can go up if the market goes up. So these are fixed. Our recommendation is to award the bonds to William Blair, which is the first agenda item we had. The second, if you all are in favor of that, is to authorize the ordinance issuing the certificates of obligation. The ordinance that was in the packet was blank because we didn't have the interest rates nor the bidder. I brought tonight in that white packet the final interest rates that tie out to this 2.39% of William Blair's. I'm happy to address any questions that you all may have, but I couldn't be more pleased with the results that I was able to bring today. And it has to do with how you all are managing things, your bond rating remaining as strong as it is, your finances remaining as strong as they are, the implementation of your plans that you put to your staff that gets carried out. The outside world is taking notice. I say the outside world, the investing public, that is, these purchasers are out of Chicago. This is not Texas. They're taking notice and wanting to participate in your loans because of how you all are managing things. And when I say you all, I mean council, down to staff, and the citizens that are, in fact, paying for these improvements through the taxes.
That's great news.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good job.
It's so the smiling.
Considering what we discussed on Saturday.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
So do I hear a motion for,
Now I make a motion, we approve items 7.1 and 7.2.
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This brings us to item 7.3, consider an act on canceling August 1st, 2016 regular council meeting.
Mayor and Council, this year we're going to try to do things a little bit different. We have a statutory requirement to set the tax rate by a certain date. And typically what happens is we set the tax rate and then we back our budget into that. This year, we had the council workshop on Saturday. We're having another one, proposed another one on the 30th in 2 weeks to discuss the impact of these bonds in our future capital planning. So what we're trying to do is make the budget and the tax rate match. So what that means for us is we will end up adopting the budget almost a full month earlier. I want the residents to understand what the tax dollars are being spent on as they vote for a tax rate. They always have the option for a rollback or start rollback initiative procedures if we, get to a point where things are not looking manageable. It's very hard from a budgeting perspective to try to back into a number. So the calendar changes mean we will be holding the first meeting, setting the proposed tax rate on August the 15th. And then August the 22nd and 29 mean subsequent tax rate meetings that the public has an opportunity to comment on. You will also be seeing the budget line items at those 2 meetings. So hopefully we will be done by the latter part of August this year, as opposed to running into the September timeframe.
I'll make a motion that we cancel the August 1st, 2016 City Council meeting.
And call a 22nd and 29
And call one
special.
for the 22nd and the 29th special City Council meetings.
Second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
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 What were those 2 dates?
This is going to bring us to item 7.4, consider an act on a request from St. Mary's Star to Sea Catholic Church to temporarily close Rice Street from Goodnight to Wilson, October 15, 2016, from 10 a.m. till 7 p.m. for their 8th annual Fall Festival. So,
Yes, sir. It's their annual event. We do it every year. They're a little bit early this year, but okay to move forward with that.
thank you, Johnny.
Again, this proposal, we've asked you every year for it. It allows us to move from our parish hall. We got a vacant lot across the street, so it allows the kids and the people that attend the event to go across the street without traffic. And it's just a safety issue to block the street. So we've asked that every year, and you guys have been kind enough to approve it for us, and we ask again this year.
Mary, I'm going to abstain from this vote, just for being an active member.
Well, I make a motion that we approve the request from St. Mary Star at the Sea Catholic Church to temporarily close White Street on October the 15th
Excuse me.
from 10 to 7.
Okay, now I'll second it.
Okay.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
Thank you, John, for coming down. Let's see what brings us to Item 7.5, utility vehicles within the city limits. Consider an act on directing staff to implement an ordinance on utility vehicles within city limits.
Mayor, I'm going to turn this over to our chief of police. I will tell you that I lost a bet and I owe him lunch.
I think Stripes has a special.
Mayor, Council, thank you. We have been looking into this. I did speak early on with Alan. I also spoke with TML as well today, and utility vehicles cannot be added into that ordinance. There's no statutory authority for that, and the TML attorney this afternoon confirmed that we cannot do that. The only exception would be a commissioner's court doing it for an unincorporated area, which would exclude us again anyway.
So we're going to do like we did with the golf carts.
No, we are allowed to do golf carts, but we are not allowed to do utility vehicles. They're explicitly stated and defined. Yes. Now, public safety can use utility vehicles, but we can't register them under the city. We'd have to register them under the state, like Ingleside did
Right.
with theirs recently.
Right. Oh, that put an end to this one then.
Unfortunately, I don't see really what the
Can't hurt to
difference is,
ask.
but the law is explicit on it.
All right. Look for golf cart. Thank you, Eric.
No problem. Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Let's bring us to,
Yeah, I think I'm up again. I do have a new employee that is here in the audience, Stephanie Diaz, if you want to stand up, Stephanie. Stephanie comes from Child Protective Services. She may be a familiar face. She actually was the supervising official for Aransas Pass. I've worked very closely with her over the years, and she's a hell of a good worker. We're happy to have her here. Thank you for being a part of our team. She replaces Jeannie because Jeannie had recently retired after many, many, many years.
So where is she working at? What?
With the police department and the finance department for the PD. So she
Okay.
kind of handles those records, and because she's so skilled, she has many other tasks as well. We all wear multiple hats, and she's carrying several.
You're welcome.
Welcome
Welcome to the
aboard.
family.
Moving on to stats, I decided to change it up. I actually got with our vendor, and I had a new report made. I figured that it's more meaningful if you can look year over year as opposed to month over month. So on the summary sheet, and this will publish, I'm just going to breeze through it, but this will be publishing online in about an hour and 20 minutes automatically. You can see that calls year over year from 2014 to 2015, we have steadily increased, but that's been reported to the council in the past. All the other numbers are pretty well consistent. Overall, though, things are going up. Staff complaints are down this past month. We only had one complaint. We had several recognitions, which are highlighted in the patrol highlights because they do reflect the patrol officers. Just some of the things that I'll touch on briefly, which is not many. Shrimpery event was great. We did have an arrest. And I tell you, they worked very hard to avoid arresting this guy, but he was intoxicated and just insisted on going to jail. So we were forced to deal with him. He had marijuana on him, and he was intoxicated. In my history, I've never had it, but we had our first BWI, boating while intoxicated. One of the officers got him out on the harbor. I don't know if Chuck was involved on that or not, but it was apparently pretty interesting. Of course, the Brandon Sampson case, it's a cold case. I think I talked about that last month. He was officially indicted. I think he was indicted, in fact, the day we were at council last time for updates. This is one, we had a murder that happened in Cove Harbor in Rockport. Some of that event actually took place in the newly annexed area of Aransas Pass on the other side of the highway. So we were assisting Rockport PD. It is their murder, not ours. But we worked very heavily with them on that case. Of course, we had the double murder suicide deal that happened as well. Part of the training stats, the feds had approached us a while back about manufacturing materials, bond-making materials, and stuff like that. They wanted a law enforcement lead kind of to take up with some training needs that will come down the pipe. They approached us because we're very heavy on training. So we now have a couple instructors that are certified on bomb-making materials and stuff like that that will be assisting the feds and putting on training for local law enforcement in the near future. So it's pretty prestigious to have been part of that. Animal control calls are on an incline. We have 2 animal control officers, as you're aware, at this time. And the new girl, Jessica, she is adapting very, very well and being very productive. Citations are also increasing in that area, so we're excited to see how we can kind of change the culture of thinking and caring for animals within our community. And adoptions and everything stay steady. Shrimpery was a great help as well for adoptions. But we had several during that event again.
Good deal.
No other questions? That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
This is going to bring us to item 13, our citizen comments. The floor is now open for citizen comments.
Again, my name is Jerry Wellman, 1869 South Saunders. I know the council has heard this a number of times, but I hope we continue to look and try to pave streets in this town. I hope we try to reduce the individual septic systems, because sooner or later that stuff gets open and on top of the ground, and we have more people that have city water and city utilities, and that we improve drainage. Those are things that cities should do for residents, and even if you live in the city and you don't want a paved street, you should have a paved street. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
My name is Rosita Gonzalez, and as I told you before, we live on the corner of Saunders and Rhodes. And just across the street, they cleared a pine tree forest. Someone is about to build there, the Seals. But anyway, there was a culvert that went from our property onto theirs, onto that vacant property that's in the corner. There was a culvert extended there where the water drains. And when they cleared the land, they covered it completely. I mean, smashed it and everything. So you don't have a drain there anymore. So I called the city, and when I called, they told me, right now we're busy with covering the holes, the potholes or what have you on the street, but we will try to look into it. But as far as I'm concerned, nobody has looked into it, and we have no drain right there.
It's right on the corner
Of Rhodes and Saunders, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
There's a hydrant there.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the culvert, the drainage would go through, and it's not there anymore.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Miguel. Is there anybody else? Okay, if not, this is going to close our citizen comments. This is going to read us item 14, executive session for section 551.072 deliberation regarding real estate property contract. So do we have any specific real estate company we're going to step out for? Or?
It's a proposal for
Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody that came out so far. We're going to go executive session. If you don't stay, have a blessed evening. Bless you, Jerry. Have a good day, and we'll see you hopefully at the next council meeting or workshop. And if you do stay, bear with us. We'll be out in a minute, I hope.
The next workshop is slated for the 30th. It is a 7 a.m. Saturday workshop, so the public is invited. There's no citizen comment, but it is open for listening to what is going on. And I'll remind everybody, we do have the Domestic Violence Coalition tomorrow. Yes, sir.